Welcome everyone to Cyber Safety Lesson number 2. In this lesson, we're shifting our focus from what cybercrime is to how the criminal justice system actually responds when these crimes occur. Not only will we look at the roles of law enforcement, the courts, and corrections, but also how each piece fits together in cybercrime investigations. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify how law enforcement, courts, and corrections each respond to cybercrime. We'll also explore how cybercrime investigations differ from traditional investigations, why specialized cyber units are so important, and how digital evidence is collected, preserved, and presented in court. We'll finish by looking at real-world challenges like jurisdiction and international cooperation, and a real case example. Before we begin, take a moment to think about what you already know. How familiar are you with cybercrime investigations? Have you ever thought about what happens after a cybercrime is reported, who investigates it, who prosecutes it, or even how offenders are supervised afterward? Cybercrime investigations generally follow the same overall framework as traditional investigations. There's a report, evidence is collected, suspects are identified, and charges are filed. The major difference between the two is that cyber investigations rely heavily on digital evidence and technical expertise instead of physical crime scenes. Like traditional crimes, cybercrime investigations begin with a referral or report. These might come from a victim, business, bank, cybersecurity firm, or even another law enforcement agency. Just like traditional crimes, there has to be an initial report before investigators can move forward, but here, the evidence generally comes from computer systems instead of physical locations. At the reporting stage, investigators are trying to answer some key questions. What crime occurred? Is immediate action needed to preserve evidence? Who has jurisdiction, local, state, federal, or even international? For example, an individual might report identity theft, a parent might report online child exploitation, or a business might report a ransomware attack. Each of those situations requires a different response. One of the most critical stages in a cybercrime investigation is evidence preservation. Unlike physical evidence, digital evidence is extremely fragile. It can be deleted, overwritten, encrypted, or even wiped remotely. Investigators may need to quickly secure computers, phones, servers, or cloud accounts while following constitutional requirements. Preservation requests are often issued to service providers because digital evidence is time-sensitive. To collect digital evidence, investigators typically need search warrants. They must be extremely careful to obtain evidence lawfully and to maintain a clear chain of custody. If evidence is collected improperly, it risks being suppressed in court, even if it proves the crime occurred. Once evidence is preserved and collected, investigators move into analysis. Digital evidence can come from many sources, and the goal is to link the activity to a real person. IP addresses help identify internet service providers. Email headers can reveal phishing attempts or spoofing. Malware code shows how an attack worked. Financial records are especially powerful because following the money often leads directly to the offender. Social media activity can also provide insight into identity, behavior, timelines, and accomplices. Prosecutors usually become involved early in cybercrime cases. They help draft warrants, guide lawful data collection, and make sure evidence will be admissible in court. Jurisdiction is especially important. If a case is filed in the wrong venue, it can be dismissed, even with strong evidence. That's why early coordination between investigators and prosecutors is critical. In traditional investigations, we usually have a physical crime scene, witnesses, and local jurisdiction. In cyber investigations, however, the crime scene is typically virtual. The evidence consists of logs and metadata, and the offense can often cross state or international borders. This is why collaboration between agencies is not optional, it's essential. Cybercrime investigations rely heavily on digital forensic tools. These tools allow investigators to recover deleted files, analyze multiple devices, and image hard drives without altering the data. Online surveillance and undercover operations help establish criminal intent, especially on the dark web. However, all of this must be done under strict legal oversight to protect privacy rights and ensure evidence is admissible. Cybercrime investigations face three major challenges: encryption, anonymity, and jurisdiction. Encryption protects user data but can block investigators from accessing evidence. Anonymity allows offenders to hide behind fake identities. And jurisdictional issues arise when crimes cross local, state, and national boundaries. Together, these challenges increase the complexity and length of cybercrime investigations. Advanced legal and technical expertise is now essential as compared to traditional forensic analysis, which further leads to more multi-agency cooperation for arrest and prosecution to become even more probable. Because of these challenges, cybercrime investigations often require a specialized, team-based approach. No single agency can handle cases like these alone. The next several slides will discuss various teams, such as ICAC and NCIJFT, and how those teams assist with these investigations. The FBI serves as the lead federal agency for cybercrime investigations. Through the National Cyber Investigative Joint Task Force, more than 30 agencies work together to combat large-scale cyber threats. Cyber squads operate in all FBI field offices throughout the nation. Rapid response teams deploy nationwide, and international legal partnerships help pursue offenders across borders. ICAC task forces focus on online crimes against children using a victim-centered approach. Local and state agencies frequently collaborate to handle cases within local agency jurisdictions. Local agencies can also opt to have officers become members of state ICAC task forces, much like those assigned to ATF and Marshals task forces. They conduct proactive investigations and work closely with prosecutors, child advocacy centers, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. State and local cyber units are often the first point of contact for victims. Larger local agencies are more equipped with the manpower and technology to handle cyber-related offenses. Smaller agencies may have to ask for assistance from state units as they do not possess manpower, equipment, and time to handle cases. They handle crimes like phishing, fraud, and identity theft. They also play a critical role in preserving evidence during the earliest stages of an investigation. Successful cybercrime investigations depend on multidisciplinary collaboration: law enforcement, prosecutors, forensic experts, intelligence analysts, and international partners working together. Without the collaboration, bringing cyber criminals to justice and supporting victims holistically would not be possible. Each case brings unique challenges requiring the expertise of various agency involvement. This case highlights how cybercrime investigations work in practice. A tip to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children led Rhode Island ICAC investigators to Gregory Phillips. A search warrant revealed extensive digital evidence documenting long-term abuse. As a result, federal charges were filed, a guilty plea entered, and a sentence of 24 years in federal prison concluded the investigation. Phillips also received 10 years of supervised release at the completion of his prison sentence. Cybercrime investigations leave digital traces rather than physical ones. Tools like Cellebrite, Encase, and FTK allow investigators to analyze this data, but only if it's collected and preserved properly. Failure to follow protocol can result in evidence suppression or overturn convictions. Thus, cybercriminals are left to continue offending. The courts play a critical role in determining the outcome of cybercrime cases. Prosecutors must prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt, just like in traditional cases, but with more technical complexity. They must present digital evidence in ways jurors can understand while anticipating constitutional challenges from the defense. Expert witnesses are essential in cybercrime trials, as their knowledge and skill set are the key components during the investigative process. Cyber offenses do not have standard crime scenes with witnesses, surveillance, and various other footage. Evidence gained from digital analysis becomes the crux of these cases. They help explain forensic methods, authenticate digital evidence, and connect technical findings to criminal behavior. To meet the burden of proof, prosecutors must show that evidence was lawfully obtained, properly preserved, unaltered, and directly linked to the accused. Fourth Amendment protections play a major role in cybercrime litigation. Violations of the Fourth Amendment leads to evidence being labeled fruit of the poisonous tree per the exclusionary rule and thereby no longer applicable to the trial. This is crucial if the evidence illegally obtained is the sole indicator tying the offender to the offense. Corrections focuses on the scope and harm caused by cybercrime. Sentencing considers the number of victims, financial losses, duration of the offense, and whether organized crime was involved. Once these impacts are analyzed, the offender could receive an enhanced sentence the more the court finds. Not only are punitive sentences imposed, but the correctional system also looks to aid in deterring future offenses by offering measures to eradicate future offending. Supervising cyber offenders after release presents unique challenges as their crimes involve the use and abuse of technology. Courts may impose restrictions on internet use, devices, or software while balancing rehabilitation and public safety. Offenders can expect to receive the same supervision as traditional crimes as well by probation and parole, to include home and work check-ins. Now that you've completed this lesson, take a moment to reflect. How has your understanding of cybercrime investigations changed? Do you feel more confident explaining how the criminal justice system responds to cybercrime?